Racing, a retrospective of cars, regulations, and technique. All of these cars that have been shown have something in common. 4 wheels. Almost everything else has changed. Even the 4 wheels they drive on. With that being said, we need to get to the big question. What is rally? The official WRC website shows that the way to win is to have the lowest time overall in 15 to 20 time stages to gain up to 25 points for first place. There are a couple more ways of getting points, but they're only up to 5 each. With the way to win established, we can get to what makes rally special. Teams are only allowed a finite amount of time to work on and repair their cars before and after the stages, and all damage on the car that hasn't been fixed will continue on to the next race with the driver. This means drivers can start a stage on an already damaged car. Rally isn't just a standalone thing. A driver needs his co-driver, and every co-driver and driver needs their team of engineers and mechanics to help fix their car. The co-driver is very important to this team, as he helps the driver navigate through their very rough stages. It is imperative that drivers and co-drivers work together efficiently, or else they will end up like these two.
Sammy, you are wrecking the car! Shut up!
Over time, rally has developed to what it is today, but it wasn't always like this. Regulations have changed a lot, but they don't change the principle of how to win. To understand the change in technology over time, we must look at the cars. There are many parts to a car that changes how it drives. I think the best part to start off with would be the engine. Active FIA regulations allows for 1.6 liter, 380 horsepower, 4-cylinder, according to Toyota Gazoo Racing. What do all these numbers mean and how can you break it down? The size of an engine is determined by bottom dead center of one cylinder times however many cylinders the engine has. For active cars, that means each cylinder would have 0.4 liters of space. Horsepower is just a measurement of torque over time, and torque is just a measurement of how much twisting force something has. 4-cylinder, as you can guess it, means that there's 4 pistons within the engine. Paired with these engines are little wonders of engineering called turbos. Turbos use exhaust gas to spin a turbine that sucks in air. With this newly acquired air, engineers can simply just add more gas to the air-fuel mixture to make more power. This setup is really common with small engines, as it allows for them to make a lot more power than they would otherwise. They also make a really cool noise. Of course, this wasn't always the case. They started using them in the late 70s. But old rally cars used to have really small engines with very small amounts of horsepower. Take example the classic Mini Cooper. This had a 1.3 liter 4-cylinder that made about 90 horsepower. Very, very small compared to what we have today. These old cars didn't even add gas straight to the cylinder. They used a carburetor to mix the gas and the air at the same time before it reaches the cylinder. Nowadays you can find turbos in everything. Chevy Trax, Honda Civic, even Corollas, and I own a turboed Corolla. Now that begs the question, if turbos are so good, then why are all these cars using them, and why aren't they as quick as these rally cars? To put it simply, these cars weren't tuned by the engineers to make extreme amounts of horsepower. They were really tuned for economy driving. However, every once in a while, you'll get a cool company like Toyota or Subaru that'll strap a big turbo on some economy car. Sometimes these cars are even used in rallies, and they're actually called rally homologation cars, and they're so popular that people buy them off the shelves, and they just continue producing them. This all ties back in with Group B rally racing and regulations. Way back in the 1980s, the old engine sizes used to range from 2,000 to 3,000 cc, which is 2 to 3 liters, and that's quite a bit bigger than the 1.6 liter we have now. A lot of things happened in Group B, and a lot of things were deemed too dangerous to be raceable. Therefore, they discontinued Group B altogether, and that placed heavy regulations on engine sizes. The next big boom of rally would be Rally Group A. This would act as a substitute or a successor to Group B rally racing. Now these engines must be connected to the wheels somehow, so how are they connected? Drivetrains. According to Oxford English Dictionary, drivetrains are a system of mechanical components that transmits torque. There are 3, technically 4 drivetrains: all-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, and front-wheel drive. WRC uses all-wheel drive as it provides the most grip in all conditions possible by using all 4 wheels to deliver power to the ground. The all-wheel drive system is advanced as it sees which tire has the most grip and delivers the torque to that tire. In the mid-70s, cars used rear-wheel drive where only the rear two wheels have torque and the fronts are only used for steering. This is good because separate tires do separate things. Front-wheel drive is the worst drivetrain of the three, and it was also the first to be used. This drivetrain sends all torque to the front wheels. This means that the tires do not only have to deal with the power being sent to them, but also the steering as well. This tends to be a problem when entering corners as it understeers quite heavily. I will showcase all these drivetrains in action now. So here I have a Civic. This is a front-wheel drive car. If I were to do burnout, you'll see the front wheels spin. You'll see I go straight forward when I try to give a gas in a corner. But if I were to do the same thing without giving it gas, maybe tapping on it, you'll see I'm able to do a lot more with it. But again, if I just floor it here, I'll go straight off into the sidewall here. This is a rear-wheel drive car. If I do a burnout, you'll see the rear wheel spins really fast. If I were to give this one any gas in a corner while I'm steering, you'll see the rear end comes out. So that isn't very good per se. Now, instead of just going straight, your rear end slips out. What you can do is steer the other direction, and then you're on controlled oversteer, which is much better than understeer. So here I have an all-wheel drive car. If I try to do a burnout, give it all the gas in the world, dump the clutch, doesn't do one. Because this car is simply trying to get all the power into the ground. So here I have a Celica, all-wheel drive just like the last car. So the driving style that's employed by racers is a four-wheel drift, which you can do by ripping the handbrake. And that'll send you into a four-wheel drive drift if you have any steering input. So as you can see there, it just sends me straight to a four-wheel drive drift. And then I can simply just link corners just like that. So you have the best aspect of rear-wheel drive, but also the best aspect of front-wheel drive, just being able to pull you in corners. But you don't have the downsides of either, because it's both. All-wheel drive is by far the best drivetrain for rally and has been used since the late 70s. The first use of all-wheel drive was in the now banned Group B in the Audi Quattro S1E2. Although the original cars that have used all-wheel drive has been banned, the technology has continued on to the newer cars and will continue to be used for the foreseeable future. Drivetrains put the power to the wheels, but suspension is what keeps the car on the ground and lets the car handle bumps on the road. Bad suspension leads the car to feel squishy and unresponsive, while good suspension makes the car feel planted to the ground. Suspension has been improved on for quite some time, and it is one of the main reasons these rally cars go fast without crazy high horsepower numbers. This only works because of a simple principle. If you don't have to slow down so much for a corner, then that means you can enter and exit the corner faster. That just means it's easier to maintain speed, then slow down, build it up again and again. Most rally suspension is higher than the stock suspension for a car and allows for more suspension travel. But suspension means nothing if the tire connected to it isn't good. According to TireStreets.com, normal tires will not cut it for rally use. What makes a good rally tire is generally a thicker sidewall to defend from punctures and a more aggressive deep tread pattern meant for the conditions. For ice and snow, they also have studded tires for maximum grip on the awful conditions. Older tires from the 70s were far worse than what we have today. Whether it be from the material used or the tread pattern, the tires we have today are much more capable than the old tires. With all that being said, drivers of car from any period of time mostly have the same technique. Get to the end as fast as possible without dying. Depending on their period in time or what drivetrain they were using, determine the techniques they used. For example, Group B rally drivers had very high-powered all-wheel drive cars, but not great suspension. This would lead to slower corner entries and exits. But if a driver was in a front-wheel drive car from a more recent time, the driver would prioritize throttle control as to not lose grip mid-turn. I'd like to mention just how crazy Group B was. Group B crowds were one of the most dangerous things that there was during a race. The roads were filled with spectators, and at the last second they would jump out of the way. There were a couple people who got hit by cars because they didn't get out of the way in time. Looking back at all of the standards now shows me we didn't care for the planet like we do now. All current FIA-regulated cars use a hybrid system to help with the emissions, and they make sure to keep the size of the engine low as to not burn a lot of gas. If you look back at Group B, late 70s, they were a lot more relaxed with the engine sizes and configurations. That's why monsters like the Audi Quattro S1E2 exist. They also care a lot more about people's safety now. Just like the crowds of people back then, the drivers of those cars weren't very safe either. Those Group B cars were not as strong as you would think, and that ended with a lot of drivers and co-drivers dying. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Rally was a very influential sport for road cars and automakers. The push for more power in racing brought us a way to make more economical road cars. The changes in safety requirements brought us road cars with better suspension and tires. The strive for first place brought us an amazing all-wheel drive system to drive in snow that most cars can come optioned with. Rally has and will forever leave its impact on the consumer, and nobody knows it. Next time you drive a car, think of all the innovations and where they came from, because 9 times out of 10, it has some genetics from Rally.